It's time to rekindle that romance. We have one of my favorite therapists with us, and she's also a relationship educator. Dr. Berman joins us, and Doctor, I'm so enthralled why women love this 50 Shades of Grey. What is it about this story?
Well, you know, it's not so much, I think people get caught up on the pain thing. And it's not so much about that for most women, I find. I think from all the feedback I've gotten from women is that it's really about two things. One, surrender and control. The idea, you know, we have so many things on our plates, we're juggling so many things, we're so stressed out. The idea of completely surrendering in the bedroom to someone who not only knows exactly what to do to make us happy in that way, but who, you know, can step up into that powerful position and has our best interests at heart, and we have a tremendous amount of trust with them. That's really kind of sexy to women, to let go of control in that way, and the anticipation and titillation of that. And I think the other big piece of it is that for all of us, but in particular for women, our main sexual organ is our brains. And the idea, you know, whether it's 50 Shades of Grey or every fairy tale that's ever been written, the idea for a woman to imagine being so fabulous and desirable and enchanting and lovable that a man will change for her and give up his ways and love her in a way that's uniquely hers is super intoxicating.
Well, Doctor, glad you're with us. Good insights, because I can't get past the pain element of that story. But when do we know when true love hits us?
I think most people know what love is when it hits them, although sometimes they confuse lust and love. But I thought it was kind of interesting because KY just did this big study leading up to Valentine's Day where they wanted to know, you know, what people were thinking about and how they felt about their romantic and intimate lives. And 60% of people said they really longed for that feeling of falling in love. You know, it's so delicious when you're falling in love. And, you know, when everything's new and you're discovering one another. In fact, neurologically, the dopamine centers of your brain are firing like crazy. Those are the reward and addiction centers of the brain. That's why we feel addicted to love. But in a long-term relationship, when the novelty wears off, so do the dopamine centers quiet down. But when you inject a little novelty, and especially into your sex life, you step outside the box, you get out of your comfort zone a little bit, try something a little more adventurous, it actually stimulates the dopamine centers of the brain. It can recreate those feelings of falling in love and increase your libido.
Well, Doctor, it sounds good. So is rekindling the romance a possibility?
Absolutely, it's always possible. Relationships are long and go through ebbs and flows, and so do our sex lives. But it's really important to maintain that connection because it's really what separates you from being roommates and co-parents. And you have to make your sex life and keeping it fresh and interesting a priority. In fact, 70% of people in that KY study, or particularly 70% of men, were saying that they really wanted their partner to introduce new things, but a quarter of the women and a third of the men said they weren't really sure what to suggest and how to introduce it.
And Doctor, I'm from a divorced family. I know of about 5 people that I know that are married that are happy. Why should I still believe in marriage?
Right. Well, it's definitely work, but the rewards when you work at it are phenomenal. And I think it's so powerful that you mentioned that you come from a divorced family, because that's, you know, obviously very common and causes a lot of adult children of divorce to be really scared of making that commitment. And that's why, if you are in a relationship, keeping your sexual intimacy and your relationship as a major priority, the two of you have to be the priority, even above your children, because what your children need more than anything else is a model of what a loving, intimate relationship looks like, so that when they grow up, they know what to do and what to look for. And they need the two of you to stay, you know, as a strong foundation for the whole family. And so, you know, you're an example of sort of the flip side of that. But what I can tell you is that you're absolutely right. The normal course, you know, most of us didn't grow up with that model of what a loving relationship looks like. There's no manual, unfortunately, that we're given when we are required, a course we're required to take for the most part when we get married. So the normal course is to just kind of take your hands off the wheel of the relationship and let the intimacy, the connection, the romance, and the sexual connection go by the wayside. And it does take a concerted effort and focus and prioritizing and making those sex dates and making sure you keep them and embracing it and letting go of the idea that sex has to happen spontaneously all the time, because once you have kids, it's not going to happen spontaneously.
Well, that's certainly great insight. And what do you wish us men knew better about relationships?
Well, it's really about connection. What women don't understand about men is that the emotional connection and closeness that we get through kissing, cuddling, sharing, talking, they get through the physical act of sex. That's how they get to that emotional closeness to us. But what men don't understand about women is that a huge part of their inspiration to be sexual comes from the romance and connection they feel to the person they're going to have sex with. So if you want a stronger sexual connection as a guy in a married or any kind of committed relationship with a woman, you have to, feed and fuel your emotional connection. So yes, listening to her, talking to her, a big one, if you want to jumpstart your libido or her libido, spend some time, just a couple of times a week, kissing and cuddling and refusing to have sex. It's not leading anywhere, it's not part of foreplay, but what you will find is that when women can just kind of get into the sensuality and the romantic connection, it really fuels the flames of their libido.
Wow, good stuff, Doctor. I'm so glad you're with us. What comes after the stage of infatuation?
Yeah. Well, the first phase is infatuation, right? Where you can't get enough of each other and you can't get anything else done. And society wouldn't function if all of us stayed in infatuation all the time. We move into something with some familiarity, somewhere between 3 months and 3 years, depending on how much time we spend together. You move into attachment phase is what scientists call it, but it's really a softer, sweeter, and deeper kind of love that is so fulfilling if you really work at it.
Well, I've never made it past infatuation. That is such a great place to be. But you mentioned that the next stage could be equally or better, which I should explore soon. And Doctor, what has really worked for you?
I think just that it's so important not to expect things to be perfect and to not have to work at it, and that it's not always going to be like what you see in the fairy tales and in the movies, but that ultimately your partner is your greatest teacher, and those things that annoy you most about them are probably your biggest learning edges about yourself.
Doctor, we're so blessed to have you with us today. Great tips. We love your passion for life and giving us these great ideas. Thank you so much and continued success.
You're welcome. Take care.